welcome to Red Clay This Month, the show that brings to light important educational issues that affect the students in the Red Clay Consolidated School District here in Wilmington, Delaware. I'm Dr. Judith Conway, and I'm the Supervisor of Unified Arts here at Red Clay, and I'll be your host for this show. Now, this show today is going to focus on the arts in education and what wonderful benefits they can bring to students, especially in the areas of self-confidence, courage, the joy of creating and problem solving, all skills that lead to college and career readiness. I want you to help me welcome my first guest, Marty Lassman, who is the choral director at the Cab Calloway School of the Arts. Hi, Marty.
Hi.
Well, we want to talk about performance and the effect of singing in a choir has on kids and their self-confidence and joy of living. What you've taught for a number of years.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
So what?
Well, I think it's
what do
all
you
the
think
arts.
about
I don't
this?
think it's just choir. I think it's all the arts do that, and it's just the idea of practicing, working on something, knowing that it was really difficult, that we couldn't do it, but by working on it in a little bit of time, doing it over and over again, and getting better and better at it, you gain self-confidence, and you feel that I can do this, even though at first you couldn't. So that you feel comfortable then going on stage. And even going on stage and performing is something you have to practice doing. You can't just go on stage and perform. One time you go on stage and you say, well, this isn't so bad. And then each time you perform, it gets better and better, and you gain more and more in self-confidence. And then that carries over into real life situations where you can actually talk to people and not be afraid to talk, and you can be creative in your discussions and things like that.
And I think you make some great points there. I think one of the things that, well, you know, obviously I am a lover of the arts, all of them, being the supervisor of Unified Arts. And one of the things I think that makes such a good point is that I didn't necessarily highlight before is persistence. And that's the difficult things that kids are singing, or later we're going to talk to one of our visual art teachers, we're going to talk to one of our theater teachers, that kids are doing is that they don't get it right the first time. And I think the arts really help teach them that that's okay.
The arts teach so many things. I didn't realize when I was young, when I was growing up, even when I was going to college, I just thought, I just enjoyed doing this. I get great joy from working in the music field, and so I want to do this. But it's only later, having done some research and read articles and things, that I've come to realize that the arts are just integral in terms of anyone's education. And they teach patience, and they teach being able to get along with other people.
Oh my gosh, patience. I didn't even think of patience,
Yeah.
but you're right.
And I mean, even just take a piano player who's learning, they try something, they have to do it over and over again, and they have to fix their mistakes. And it's frustrating because you can't get it at first. It's really, really hard to do. And the more you work at it, maybe you get lucky enough that you start overcoming walls. I remember my piano teacher when I was very young saying that when you start out and you learn how to play piano or do music or anything like that, you hit a wall, and that wall is only like a foot tall. It's really easy, and you step over the wall. And then you keep going, and you hit another wall. And that one maybe is about 3 feet high. Well, now it takes a little more effort to get over. And eventually that wall keeps getting higher and higher, and you keep getting over higher and higher walls. And every time you do, you gain more knowledge, more ability to do things. So I guess that's all I wanted to say about that, is that, that it's not just, let's sing a piece of music, or let's just create a piece of artwork. It's a constant struggle to be able to overcome the challenges, and it takes a lot of patience. And it's frustrating, and I know of kids, and myself too, who when you get to a point and you succeed at something which has been so difficult and you've been working at it so long, the emotions are just overwhelming because it's really hard to do. But then when you present, people don't even realize how hard you really worked.
Right, and that's my background is theater, as you know, and lots of times when I was directing, you'd know it was a good show because none of your work ever showed.
Right.
And I think that's good. That's true for a lot of performers, that you know it's a good performance when the kids really shine and it looks easy, even though
Right.
you've spent lots of time working on it.
Right,
But
and the kids have too, absolutely.
exactly, and that's what's nice, is that the kids have gotten that experience. And you know, sometimes it annoys me. I know that's hard to believe that I get annoyed, but sometimes it annoys me when people talk about soft skills, like self-confidence, like persistence,
Oh, no.
like patience, as being soft skills, not like, I guess, hard skills like reading and writing and math. But to me, the quote-unquote soft skills, your ability to have self-confidence, your ability to persist, to have patience, to recognize that the height of that wall keeps getting higher. Now, to me, those are really the keys to success.
Can I give you two examples which I've heard of and I've seen, which I think are rather interesting? One is, you talk about persistence, and maybe there's somebody who plays clarinet in a band, and they've played all through high school, and then they go to college and they go on, they do something different. Maybe they don't play anymore, but they've learned all those skills. When you talk to someone about they're doing research, cancer research or something like that, and they say, we're on the verge of breaking through. In 10 years, we may see a breakthrough. That's the same sort of thing as when you're learning how to play an instrument, being persistent and practicing and seeing failure and saying, I can overcome this, I just need to work at it, I can do this, I can do this. It's the same skills. The same thing with, I heard a woman talking about the fact that she was a dancer in an art school, actually. And then she went on and she was working in a hotel, and a busload of people came from a foreign country, and they had no English skills at all. And they came in, they were very upset about something, and she just put on her dance skills, put on her smiling face, and calmed everyone down, because she wasn't all harried. She knew how to present to the public. There are just so many things that happen in the arts that carry over in all areas of education and in life.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. And not to overlook courage.
Absolutely.
I think courage is a big part. Like, how do you teach people to be courageous? I think the arts really does.
Absolutely does. I have, for example, one of the choirs that I teach is a jazz choir. And we start out, maybe I'll have students who are freshmen or sophomores, and this is new to them. They've never done this before. And now it's their turn to get up and improvise, basically to just form their own melody and their own set of rhythms and sing that over a set of chord changes. And they are so scared. It is so scary to them. But then in time, they gain confidence and they learn. And by the time they're juniors or seniors, they get really pretty good at it. But it's the same thing. You gain confidence and you learn. And it's not as scary anymore, and you get to be able to present.
I know that there are some people who would rather go to the dentist than stand up in front of a group of people and speak. And if you look at all of our really strong leaders, I mean, that's something that they have to do. Like, that's an important skill, to be able to talk to people and have them feel comfortable, that you're not so nervous that you're going to fall down in a dead faint on the stage, but that you're going to welcome them, or you're going to motivate them, or whatever. And I think, like, what you're helping kids do, learn that courage and that confidence.
It's something that needs to be taught. Even what you're talking about needs to be taught. And so when I have, for example, the students in my choir, even 6th graders, 7th graders, whatever, and I say, it's not just let's go on stage and perform, it's when you go on stage, this is the way you need to dress. You need to be exactly like this. You need to stand this way. You need to not talk because you're disrespecting your audience. You need to. And we do all these things, and we practice those things. And when they get on stage, that's another chance to practice. And again, I think that just carries over into public life. So if you become a politician or a public speaker or a lawyer, you know, these are things I need to do in order to present myself professionally. It's not just going out there and hopefully I'm good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I know that you take your kids touring too. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the same sort of thing is there's so many advantages to be able to take students out and perform. And one is that the students gain so much from that they have lifelong memories. Kids don't remember things like, do you remember that math class I had in 10th grade on September 22nd? But they will remember the time that they went to and name wherever it was that your band or the chorus or whatever art area it is will take, because they have a chance to bond with other students. Parents get a chance to find out what their students' friends are like and meet their friends. The parents get a chance to meet each other. It's an awesome opportunity for that. in addition to that, and I've been just thinking about this recently, I think the arts are an indicator of how good a school is. Just like I understand that Starbucks, sales of Starbucks coffee is an indicator of how good the economy is. Because if people purchase Starbucks coffee instead of going somewhere and getting it far cheaper, it's an indication the economy is doing well.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
At first I was,
No.
Or that people even have money to go out and buy coffee rather than just making it home.
Exactly. And I think it's the same thing when you go out and perform, whether it's at a competition or at a senior center or whatever. I can't think of a school that is a great school and has a poor arts program, or a school that has a good arts program and has a poor school. They tend to go hand in hand, but you're not going to bring your math students, your English students, your foreign language students out and say, we want you to see how well our students can do math problems. That doesn't happen, but when you go out and when the band performs, or when there's dancers dancing, or the theater, or the musical, or the choir is performing, when you bring that out, people begin to recognize and they say, that must be a pretty good school. They have a really nice program there. And so there's lots and lots of reasons for the opportunity. Plus the fact that you're exposing kids to opportunities they wouldn't normally have. So for example, the jazz choir now is going to be going up to Boston.
Oh, yes. Tell us a little bit about that Boston trip.
Well, we're very fortunate. We've actually applied several years for the opportunity to go and perform. And we were selected this year.
So there's your persistence again.
It was hard because we had to make a recording every single year, and it had to be in by a certain time. We had to follow all these rules and regulations and all. And there are other groups. This is a nationwide talent hunt, and they like to have high school groups. So some years they may say, well, we already have one choir. We want a strings group to go also, or dancers or whatever. But we were fortunate enough to go this year. And so we're doing other things that are going to be related to it, and the students are going to have the opportunity to see what it's like to be in Boston, and they're excited because they have friends who are going to schools in Boston. And so these students want to come back and see them too, but I'm sure we'll get maybe a chance to see some of the other colleges, whether it's Berkeley or Boston University or Boston College, that we'll be able to do the Boston Duck Tour, that there's various performances that we're going to be able to see in the area. Possibility we're going to go to the JFK Museum or possibly to Harvard or things. They wouldn't normally do, no matter whenever you go places normally, unless you're going to a competition. If you're going someplace and you provide the opportunities as a director, there are so many educational, cultural things kids can get from going to other places.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, that sounds fabulous, and the kids are getting and making memories that are going to last forever.
Absolutely. My understanding is that we are going to be going on stage after Dan Rather's speaking. This means nothing to my children. They have no idea who Dan Rather is.
Oh, and here I was really impressed. Oh my gosh.
But for we adults, but I'm thinking if Dan Rather is going to be speaking, I suspect there'll be a lot of people in the audience. And so then we're getting a chance to go out there and perform, and these people from across the country now get a chance to say, wow, Cab Calloway School of the Arts, Red Clay School District, they have a really good program there. And again, they'll be thinking, if they have a really good program, it must be a really good school. It must be a really good district.
And they would be right.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Well, let's take a little break here, and I'll invite one of our art teachers back up with us, and I hope you come back as well.
I guess sometimes things just happen. Devastating things. It's got nothing to do with fairness. Bam, your whole world changes in an instant. And you never see it coming. That's what happened to me the day my mother had a stroke. I'm Paul George, and I want you to learn the signs of a stroke fast. F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. Because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment. And that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Protect the ones you love. Spot a stroke. F-A-S-T. Fast.
back to Red Clay this month, where we're talking about the importance of the arts in education and how art skills, the confidence and the courage and the joy of creation and problem solving can help students all across life and get them to be college and career ready. And I'd like you to help me welcome my next guest, Elizabeth Eggleston, who is a visual arts teacher in the Red Clay Consolidated School District in Thomas McCain High School. Welcome, Beth.
Hi. Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, well, I'm so glad you're here. So Marty and I were talking about confidence and the arts helping students build self-confidence. Do you see that in the visual arts too?
I do. I feel that it takes a little bit of time for that to happen. By the end of the first year, they have more confidence. In the beginning, a lot of my kids, the first year of the first level class, some of them may not have had art since 6th grade, and they're now 16, 17 years old, and they're being asked to do things that they haven't done in a while. So they're very afraid to try. And I always tell them, I'm like, I can't help you if you don't start. I don't know where it is you need help until you have to do something. So it takes a while for them to build that. And then by the end of the year, they're not so afraid. And then by the end of their 4th year, I don't even know why I'm in the room. They have so much confidence that they're just, sometimes they don't even want my advice anymore.
They want to make their own. Oh, isn't that great?
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that what we try to do with even our own personal children? That, our role as parents is to make ourselves almost obsolete because they've got so much confidence and ability in what they can do.
And that's what I feel like. My kids, especially the 4th year ones, those are my kids. So to see them grow from those shy, timid little freshmen that were afraid to, do anything to, just producing and producing and producing artwork that is amazing, it makes me happy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think there's courage there too. I think it's easy for people to understand courage in theater or in singing or in playing music because the kids are really putting themselves out there, and maybe because performance is kind of different in visual arts, that they don't see that same putting yourself out there, but I think it is.
Well, yeah, they their performance is showing their work. And even if it doesn't get to, in an art show, they have their peers in their classroom. So you were talking about courage. To have courage to even try to do something when the person sitting next to you is like, fabulous, and they draw without any effort, and you're sitting there going, I don't know what to do. That takes a lot of courage for a lot of kids. So, even if it's not in front of, a big group of people, it's at least in front of their peers that they're showing a lot of courage.
Now, so you said that you would consider performance showing your work. So even if it's just me, and that would take a lot of courage for me to show you any of my artwork, let me tell you. But so exhibits are kind of like the equality of performance in the performing arts.
Right, and I don't know if you guys had talked about we have new standards now, and performance is one of the overarching standards for all
we haven't hit the new national art standards yet.
So performance is an overarching one for all of the disciplines, and performance for visual arts is the presenting of work. So which, most art teachers have art shows in their schools, or we have that revolving exhibit at the district office.
Oh yes. And as a matter of fact, we just put a new one up, and I can't tell you how many people come up to me, and it's things I feel myself, to say, oh, it's amazing. It is amazing what our kids are producing, as far as even the elementaries all the way to the high school kids.
Yeah, and then we also work in conjunction with the Delaware Art Museum and put on an Art Smart every year, the Red Clay Consolidated School District. This year it's April 28th, I believe, is the opening.
April 28th is the opening night, yes, and then it runs for 2 more weeks, so into the beginning of, probably to mid-May.
Right, I think it's like around the 15th.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's nice, because that's kind of, like I said, their performance, and it's not just open to like their friends and family on that one night. Anyone that comes into the museum can come and see the work. You know, if they're, you know, they're visiting a you know, maybe the sculpture garden, and they come in and there it is. They can still see it too. So it's open for the whole community.
And that's you're right. That's their performance, and that's because I think sometimes we think of visual artists as being more shy, more reserved, but they really have to put themselves out there as well.
Yes.
When you show your work to whoever is going to wander into the museum or wander into the district office or wander, I know you have great shows on those real cool panels that you put in the school office.
Right, and that sometimes the kid won't know that I've put their work up, and they'll come running to me, "Why'd you put my work up? It's horrible." And I'm like, I wouldn't have put it up if it was horrible. So, you know, and then, you know, then they get a little sense of pride, and then they're like, you know, a little bit of that confidence comes in, and so next time, you know, they try even harder, because then they're like, oh, maybe I can get my work put up there.
Right. Ms. Eggleston would not have put it up if she didn't think it was good.
That's
right. And that again brings about the whole idea of the importance of mentors. We didn't really talk about that in terms of music, but I'm sure it's just as important in music as it is in the visual arts, that kids have people who believe in them and believe that they can do it. That's all a part of the building of the self-confidence and the courage and the risk-taking.
Definitely. You know, I have many kids that when they graduate, first of all, they don't want to leave. They're like, "I'm coming back next year to visit you," and I'm like, "No, it's okay. I'll come see you." You know, they're like, "I'm sorry. Can we cut?" I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh, they, you know, they come back after they graduate, or, you know, right at graduation, they'll tell me, you know, "Thank you. You know, if you believed in me, you know, you gave me, you know, the courage to do these things, to apply to art school, to, you know, put my art out in a, you know, in a show, not inside the school, you know, something outside of the school." So
Right, that's very much like touring for the musicians, going to places where they've never been before,
Right.
or they're not, you know, they're obviously not as comfortable outside of their own school than inside their own school, and that's courage building and risk taking as well.
Yep.
For sure. And I think this shows as well those other skills that make people successful, that we're giving kids a chance to practice.
right.
That courage.
Yeah, the kids just think they're learning how to draw and paint and sculpt. Yeah, they're learning a lot more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you had to list any specific skills that you think an art student would take out into the world, that would transfer to other areas, that would help them be successful, what would you talk about?
So are we talking like the skills of art, or the skills art can teach?
I think we can talk about both.
Okay, so if you know, we go over the elements and principles, and the principles of design, anything that they do that will be visual, whether they're putting together a presentation in college or for, you know, an employer, anything, having those principles of design in their head and knowing what
sure, right.
looks good.
Designing a good resume.
Right, and any of that is there. But the skills that they learn and the things that they do in class, you know, the problem solving, you know, they, like I said, it gives them confidence and perseverance, and gives them, you know, they learn how to focus. It's my favorite time in class is when there's, you know, a class of 25, 30 of them, and then all of a sudden for at least 30 seconds to a minute, it's dead silent. And that's because they're focused. So for at least a minute in class, everyone is focused. Now in my upper level classes, it's pretty much quiet the whole time, because they've, you know, developed that skill. First years, not so much. It's a little loud in there sometimes. But they also learn how to take feedback, and like constructive feedback. And again, at first they don't like to hear it, because their whole lives they've been told that they're wonderful And I don't tell them that they're not wonderful, but I tell them how that they can be better. And they eventually learn that that's okay. That's my job. That's why, I'm not doing it to be mean to you. I'm doing it to help you. So with constructive feedback and collaboration, working with each other in a class, especially a large class, they have to really work together, closely together, because we're in there, and taking care of the room in general. We all have to do that together. So.
Oh, sure, because in an art room there is just lots of stuff and lots of other kids' artwork that's drawing or whatever. Right. Sitting to wait for the next time.
Yes, just please don't get it dirty. So they have to, work together, and and like we were talking before, the confidence and courage, and all of this in a place that helps cultivate their creativity, that gives them a place where they can have their crazy ideas, and where it's not really a crazy idea. My favorite thing is when a student, I give them the assignment and everything, and they're like, well, can I do this? And I'm like, well, sure. Why not? I try to leave the assignments pretty open-ended, so it does give them the freedom to do that. So it does amaze me that they ask me, can I do it, when I didn't say you couldn't, so go ahead.
That's right, that's right. And I think that fostering of creativity and that fostering of open-ended problems so that they can think and they can look for different ways to look at things. Now, I'm not sure you can do that so much if you're performing a musical piece. What do you think?
Well, absolutely you can.
Oh, really? So, see, that's my
different way of
ignorance.
looking at things. Because, and I think a lot of people just assume that music means look at the note, read the note, perform the note, and it's not. It's how are you going to shape the phrase? How are you going to, in singing, what words are the most important words? How are you going to do that? What things do you want to change that maybe differently than what the composer indicated to make it work for your choir? How can you add things to it to make it specially your own? There's lots and lots of things that are in there.
And that's teaching kids to think and to look at things from different perspectives.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite stories was, getting back to some cancer research, was that this team was working on how to be able to target tumors, maybe with radiation or something. And they found that if they put enough whatever juice, I'll say, into the tumor, that it destroyed cells, good cells, along the pathway. And if they lowered the dose so that they didn't destroy the cells along the pathway, it wasn't enough to shrink the tumor. And somebody took an idea from, I think it was Hannibal and going over mountains with elephants, that he said, well, if I take all the elephants up the mountain, people are going to hear us coming. So he would take a few here, and maybe they weren't elephants, maybe they were just foot soldiers, I don't remember, but he would take a few here, and he would take a few here, and he would take a few here, and he would take a few here. And this doctor thought of that and made that connection, and that's how they started attacking tumors. A little bit here, so it didn't hurt the cells along the way, but by the time everybody got there, boom, it was enough to do the tumor. And I think that looking at things from another perspective, that idea of taking, as I know we do so much in art and music, of taking what you know about history, about style, about whatever else it is in your life, sadness or happiness, and putting it together can be so fantastic. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, you know what we haven't talked about yet? We haven't talked about theater. And so we're going to bring up somebody in just a sec to talk the whole performance confidence idea as related to kids who really like to do theater. So I hope you hang in there with us, and when we come back, we're going to talk some theater.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day, I found out I have something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Welcome back to Red Clay this month, where we're talking about integrating the arts into education and what good results that has for kids. And if you would help me welcome my next guest, Crystal Haas.
Thank you.
She is the choral and theater person at McCain High School here in Red Clay, and so she's going to talk more from a theater point of view right now. So Crystal, tell us, what do you see as a director of plays and musicals? What do you see kids learning from in terms of theater?
I am so excited to talk about theater. Research says that the classroom is the third teacher, and I may want to stretch that and say that theater may very well be the fourth teacher. What I see is students being able to build strengths that they never realized that they had. I know my colleagues here talked about that shyness and the apprehension to kind of take healthy risks. Well, theater is a perfect place for a student to take the kind of risk that we want kids to take. Our students get on stage, they have to learn blocking, memorization, team building, listening for their cues, all at once. It's multitasking at its greatest level. And I really believe that theater helps students succeed academically, socially, emotionally. It builds their emotional intelligence to put themselves out in front of a whole audience and you know, risk the critique of an audience, and usually it's a wonderful turnout for them. But I really do believe it's just the most wonderful way to teach. Not only that, but the students have to put themselves in someone else's shoes, find out their life, their motivation, what their role is on the stage, how they interact with everyone else on the stage, and what a great way for them to build just humanness.
Right,
you know,
right.
and
The
that to be able to connect with other people.
Compassion,
Yes.
empathy, yes.
Absolutely.
We haven't talked about that, but of course that's a big part of singing, conveying the emotion that that the music was written to convey, and certainly I have walked in front of pieces of art and felt joy and celebration and sadness. All at the same time sometimes. Yeah. So that's you know, I'm a theater background person too, so I think one of the things that appealed to me about it was the fact that I absolutely agree that there's almost nothing better to teach kids self-confidence, poise, you know, that whole idea of the performance presence. And I think art kids feel it too, in the fact that we haven't yet talked about reflection, but in the arts, in terms of one of our new arts standards, well, it's kind of reworded from the standards that we had before, how important reflection is, and that feedback loop. And theater kids get that really both barrels.
Absolutely. During the rehearsals, there's tons of feedback because it's constantly taking this frame, this vignette, and taking it apart, putting it back together to make that performance really strong. And the results of that is that the students they become extremely self-reflective, but also the really cool takeaway is that they become autonomous. They can go out there without the director, because the director's not on stage, nowhere to be seen the day of the performance. So they go out there, they have this autonomy, they have this self-efficacy, and this strength and this power where they can go out and recall all that was learned in weeks and weeks of rehearsal. So it's just amazing. And I really believe that it's also a great tool for leadership skills. And I brought up these notes because I'm just so passionate about theater. I don't want to miss any wonderful nugget that is attributed to this wonderful art form. But I do believe that it can build leadership and responsibility to show up, because if you're not there on stage, somebody else doesn't get their cue, someone else ruins their cue, and it's just this spiral effect. So there's so much that goes on in theater. It's just so good. So.
Yeah, that whole ensemble idea that everyone needs to be there, and not only the people on stage, but I want to give kudos to the light folks and the folks that run the sound and have built the sets. More visual artists, chances are. When I used to direct, thank God. I would thank God for visual artists.
The past few years, students of mine have done the sets for Crystal's Plays.
Yeah. And they've done a remarkable job. And they take ownership of what they're doing. It's great.
And totally without my guidance. Like, they're on their own. They find out what she wants and get it done.
And that's fun too, the whole vision idea of what this could sound like, what this could look like, the performance aspect of it. That, I think, is really forward thinking as well for kids, because kids sometimes have a hard time envisioning maybe the consequences of something or how something will look when it's done, and this gives them great practice. Now, Marty, I interrupted you.
No, it's just I want to say these backstage people, supposedly backstage, that people don't see, they learn very quickly. They're part of the performance too, and they're learning the same skills in a different way. That if they don't hit that light cue exactly when it's supposed to be hit, or if they don't have that mic on, or they don't have that mic off, it destroys the illusion for the audience, regardless of whether it's in theater or in a musical performance or even in art. If a lighting is not the way it's supposed to be, it changes everything. And they gain that confidence of knowing, hey, I made a real difference here. My performance, even though people didn't see me on stage, people saw that what I did was really important, and it has the same effect.
Yeah, that whole ensemble idea of working together seemingly seamlessly, but actually as the result of a lot of hard work on a lot of people's parts.
There have been many, many times when I've said to the sound man, thank you for making us sound so good.
Absolutely.
It makes a difference.
Absolutely, absolutely.
One thing that I would like to add, kind of echoing Marty's viewpoint, is that here at McCain High School, the unique thing that we do is we build the sets and we build the show and the production from the crew. We start with the crew first, making sure that they're all set. They end up becoming the backbone of the play, and then the actors and the performers come in and they kind of team up with the crew. And I just love how we really emphasize that first. You know, kind of building it from the ground up, knowing that the lighting cues and the curtain person and the caller for lines, that's all established first. I just love the McCain crew. I just have to give them a little bit of a shout out. But the really cool thing that I've seen in the past few years is that our actors, they have become very sensitive to what's happening in terms of that backstage, and so they'll pick up a piece and they'll take it off and they'll wait for lighting and they'll tell people to get out of the way if there's a crew person. So you really see the whole team working toward the end result of the production as this great huge unit, you know, like this fine working machine, and that's really exciting to see the students encourage each other and support each other on every aspect and every level of the performance. So, and that goes back to people skills. So that's like another big thing we're learning from all of these disciplines. People skills, you know, how to get along with each other, how to work together.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. And the thing that I don't want to lose from all of this too is the joy, the fun.
Absolutely.
Just the fun of it all. And I think Red Clay has really been very visionary and very wise. They support the arts greatly here. Our school board, our administrators, the fact that I have this position, that this position exists is really what I'm trying to say, to take care of the arts because of recognizing how important they are in children's development and the wonderful things that they learn that we've talked about, and just the joy of being able to create. I think that speaks highly of everyone involved, and to encourage kids to seek out arts kinds of experiences that I think by and large we're a very welcoming community, because one more person brings all of their talents that makes us all look good. And so people should feel welcome to seek out these kinds of opportunities if they're on the fence and saying, I don't know whether that's for me or not. Well, you know, there are lots of ways to try it. Musically, visual arts, and theater as another performing art as well.
Thank you. Thank you for your support, for sure.
Well, I think that just about does it for our time for this month. So thank you so much for tuning in and talking about and highlighting the importance of the arts in educating the whole child. And please tune in again next month, where we'll have some other interesting things to talk about.